guys, welcome to another episode of Local Film Talk. We're here with Meredith Sause at 106 Main in downtown Durham. Tell us a little bit about how you got into, I guess, acting was the first one. How did you first get into that?
Yeah, definitely acting came first for me. Always loved to do it. Anything that looked like a stage when I was a kid, I would try to jump up on it.
So it started at a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, the
Okay.
hearth, I would get up there and try to perform.
Little skits for the family and everything?
Oh, well, I actually don't remember. I just remember thinking, that looks like a stage, I'm going to get on it.
Okay.
And I remember watching TV, this is really embarrassing, but I was watching Family Ties and I was looking at Tina Yothers and thinking, wow, she's like kind of my age. I could do that. Why aren't I doing that? So that's kind of, I knew at a very young age that I wanted to be an actor.
Okay. So did you start out in school plays, that kind of thing?
Definitely did some school plays. Applied for the North Carolina School of the Arts, which is in Winston-Salem, which is my hometown-ish, and went there for my senior year in high school. So that was probably the first hardcore training. I mean, I'd taken drama classes here and there in junior high and high school, in my previous high school, but this was, you're in school from 8 to 5 and you have your academics, but you also have dance, movement, voice, acting, among
There's a
other
whole
things.
package. There's all sorts of stuff you gotta, learn. Now, when at the School of the Arts, were you still focused on plays, or were you also getting exposed to the screen stuff too?
The teacher there, Robert Moyer, was my high school teacher, and he was amazing, and he exposed us to a lot of film. Koyaanisqatsi, Swimming to Cambodia, the Whoopi Goldberg's one-woman show. I mean, I saw a lot of these crazy things that I would not otherwise have seen. So I definitely got a lesson in film.
And of course, this was at a time before, Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, when every obscure thing you could possibly imagine is a click away.
Way before that, yeah.
So, yeah, I know those times when somebody you got to see such and such, so-and-so's like second movie or whatever, and you're like, where the hell am I going to find that? And fortunately, right, if you're lucky, you have a professor who, has ways to expose you to that, obscure movies.
So
and stuff.
lucky. That program was amazing. But what we did not focus on plays. We barely focused on scenes. It was mostly improvisation and learning how to extract the real world and bring it into our bodies in our actions and our words and motions and that sort of thing.
Take your own experience and put it into the character.
And observing others. Like one day he took us to the mall and we had to do character studies based on people watching.
Well, that's a cool exercise.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, did you prefer drama, comedy?
I was a sucker for the drama. Absolutely.
Have you tried comedy before? I hear people say comedy is really tough to nail.
It's extremely difficult, and especially if you're worried about it, which I usually am. Like I can be very goofy, but like nailing timing is something that does not come naturally for me, I think.
I think those are some of the hardest ones out there. Like you watch a Marx Brothers movie where it's just talking a mile a minute. So you went to school and learned all this stuff. Where did you go from there? Did you continue, I guess you kept stage acting?
Kept doing theater. I've done theater ever since. Continued to do it. I just did a play this past fall. I learned about editing the first time when I was in college. I was helping my boyfriend at the time, shoot his movie, and I was really into it. I was like, you got to get this shot. Look at this curvy stairwell. Look. Go! You gotta go around, and then I helped him in the editing room, and I'd never been in the editing suite, and it was one of those VHS. The knobs,
Right.
And he was cutting it, and I was like, no, you can't cut it there. Don't cut it there. It needs and I just became really opinionated.
Yeah.
At a time where I really wasn't that opinionated,
Okay.
So I knew that I had hooked into something that it was kind of in my gut, like I had a feel for it.
Was that, I guess you kind of discovered that you can take, like with stage stuff, it all being live and there's no cuts and everything, but you're kind of starting to see that like editing and changes you could make in post-production can add to what you're doing. Did that kind of get you interested in
that
being
and just
in
having
shorts and
the
stuff?
sense of timing there, with
Right.
the edit too.
So you went around and toured some
I did.
with theater companies.
I toured with the National Theater of the Deaf and landed in Cleveland working with Cleveland Science Stage Theater. We were
Okay.
working in both spoken language and sign language. And then I ended up in Chapel Hill and was still working on doing plays.
Right.
But I also got an agent and started doing some acting work, on film, video, and a little bit of television.
Yeah, you've actually been in some TV shows, I want to say, on your website. I saw clips from Homeland, was it?
Yep, Homeland.
And also, where was the one you were the nurse?
And One Tree Hill.
One Tree Hill.
And just did an episode of Turn where I had a little tiny bit part.
Okay. Cool. Now, what's that like on an actual big network TV show set?
The first time it was really overwhelming, and I was
It's a lot of moving parts when you walk into that soundstage.
yeah, and it worked like a machine. I mean, when I was played the nurse, we actually shot in a hospital, so it wasn't on
Oh,
a
really?
soundstage.
Okay.
Homeland was definitely on a soundstage. They built everything. And then Turn was it was an outdoor shoot inside of a
okay.
tent. So, but initially it was overwhelming, but I think I could get used to it.
And so you started acting in different shorts in the area. How did you get connected to the local Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill filmmaking scene?
Well, the very first film I ever was in was this vampire flick I totally forgot about this when I was talking to you the other day, but it was shot in Chapel Hill in Durham, and it's called Immortal, and it's this cheesy rock and roll vampire movie that was made in 1993, 94, and it's got an incredible soundtrack. Like June and Dylan Fence and Dexter Romweber are on the soundtrack. It's great. So that was my first.
That was back in '93, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And for this last few years, I would say that it had to be foodie. Like I'd done a couple of projects here and there, but foodie really tied me into the film community in Durham,
Okay.
in Chapel Hill.
Now, how did you find out about that one? I was talking to Eric earlier about that one, and he said you auditioned. How did you find out about it?
Right. We have a mutual friend who let me know about the audition and said, if you're interested, I'm helping with casting. I can get you into the callback, which
And
was
you
really
read
nice.
for a male part, and read it, from what Eric said, totally against the way it was written. Not necessarily recommended when you go in for an audition, but what made you choose to do that?
I think, the people working with casting gave me a few clues of like, maybe try it this way. And even Eric and the first director said, why don't you try it a couple of different ways? And they read me a lot. So I got to try it a few different times,
Okay.
different personalities for the character.
Okay. And, they liked what you gave them, so you ended up being in that one, and that was your first real short in the area, huh? And so where does it go from there?
So from Foodie, I came off of Foodie and I was feeling really good about it because it was, for one, finished, and it was already being submitted to festivals, and I was so excited about that because I think I was telling you earlier, it's just, it's hard as an actor. I've worked on several projects that, don't get finished.
Right.
Or sit and nothing happens with them, and you're just like aching for something to happen, and
Right.
as an actor, you don't really have control over the final product.
Right.
So
It was interesting the way that your new movie, Keepsake, came about, because it was actually two actors deciding. I mean, you had a nugget of an idea, but a lot of it came from what types of characters you wanted to play, which is unusual for a film.
Right, and so then, and I really loved the Foodie script, and I was like,
So
Eric
yanked Eric back into
yep,
it?
I did, and so that's why I asked Eric to collaborate, and he was really excited about it, so that's how that came about.
And now you're a director. Well, thank you for sharing your career with us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, hope you had fun.
Yeah.
Hope we didn't scare you too much. Thank you.